There is a certain kind of moment that almost every parent has, usually late at night, standing over a crib, watching this tiny person breathe. And a quiet, almost overwhelming thought arrives. Who are you going to become? And right behind it comes the fear. Am I doing enough? Am I missing the window? Because somewhere along the way, you heard that the first few years matter more than any other years that will ever come. And that part is true. But here's what almost no one tells you. Building a child's brain doesn't require expensive flashcards, baby genius programs, or a single educational app. The most powerful brain-building tools on Earth are free, they're ancient, and most of them you can do in your pajamas before breakfast. What's actually happening inside that little skull is almost hard to believe. In the first years of life, a baby's brain is forming new connections at a pace it will never reach again. Every sound, every touch, every game of peekaboo is laying down physical wiring. The brain isn't waiting to be built later. It's being built right now, in the ordinary moments, by you. So today we're going to walk through 10 daily habits, backed by real developmental neuroscience, that physically shape a baby's brain for life. Not theories, not vibes. The specific, repeatable things that lay down the architecture of who this child becomes. Some of them will surprise you. At least one of them is about doing absolutely nothing at all. And the last one might be the most important thing you never thought about. Let's begin. Let's start with habit 1, and it might be the single most powerful one on this entire list. It's called serve and return. Picture this. Your baby is lying on a blanket and makes a little sound. A coo, a gurgle, nothing that means anything yet. And you look down, you smile, and you say, "Oh yeah? Tell me more." And the baby's eyes light up and they make another sound back. That's it. That's the whole thing. A tiny conversation between two people, one of whom can't even talk yet. It feels like nothing. It is everything. Researchers call this contingent serve and return conversation, and the key word is contingent, meaning you respond to what they actually did, promptly and meaningfully. This back and forth is one of the primary predictors of structural connectivity in a developing brain. It correlates with increased myelination and thickening of the cortex in language regions like Broca's area, the part of the brain responsible for producing speech. In plain language, every time you answer your baby's babble, you're not just being sweet, you're physically wiring the language center of their brain. The serve is theirs, the return is yours, and the cost of skipping it is invisible, which is exactly why it's so easy to miss. A baby who serves and gets no return slowly learns that reaching out doesn't work. So return the serve, every single time you can. And once you've got that back and forth flowing, you can pour it into habit 2, which is reading. But not the way you might think. Most people picture reading to a baby as the baby sitting quietly while you recite the words on the page. That's not the version that builds the brain. The version that builds the brain is called dialogic reading, and it turns the book into a conversation. You don't just read, "The dog is brown." You stop and you ask, "Where's the doggy? What sound does he make? Hey, didn't we see a dog like that at the park today?" You link the story to their actual life. And here's why that matters so much. Passive reading lights up a little of the brain. But interactive, questioning, life-linking reading robustly activates the parietal temporal occipital association cortex, a major hub where the brain fuses together what it sees, what it hears, and what words mean. You're not just teaching vocabulary, you're building the multisensory crossroads where language and meaning get stitched together. So a cheap board book, read the right way, becomes one of the most sophisticated brain training tools you own. The book is just the prop. The conversation is the medicine. Now let's slow everything down for habit 3, because this one requires no words at all. It's skin-to-skin contact, sometimes called kangaroo care. You take the baby, bare chest against your bare chest, and you just hold them. Especially in those early newborn weeks, even an hour a day of this is doing something profound under the surface. That contact actually accelerates the maturation of the baby's autonomic nervous system, the automatic machinery that runs their heart rate, their breathing, their stress response. It helps stabilize the HPA axis, which is the body's entire stress management system, and it switches on the brain regions involved in emotional regulation and bonding. Think about what that means. When you hold your baby skin to skin, their body literally learns from yours how to calm down. Your steady heartbeat becomes the metronome their nervous system tunes itself to. You are, in the most literal sense, lending them your calm until they can build their own. And a nervous system that learns early how to settle becomes a child, and then an adult, who can regulate stress instead of drowning in it. Staying with the power of touch, let's move to habit 4, infant massage. And I don't mean a vague little rub, I mean structured, gentle, moderate pressure massage, a few minutes of slow, deliberate strokes along the arms, the legs, the back. It feels like a small bonding ritual, and it is. But underneath, something more is happening. That kind of touch stimulates the nervous system and increases neurotrophins, including one called IGF-1, a growth factor that promotes myelination, the fatty insulation that lets brain signals travel faster. And it supports the development of the visual cortex. On top of that, the gentle pressure stimulates the vagus nerve, which improves digestion, gastric motility, and even weight gain. So this one quiet habit is feeding the brain's wiring and soothing the gut at the same time. A few minutes of mindful touch before bed, and you're not just helping them sleep, you're insulating the very cables their thoughts will one day run on. Now let's add some rhythm, literally, with habit 5. Synchronized social musical interaction. This is the bouncing, the clapping, the patting on your knee in time to a song, the little drumming game where you tap and they tap. It looks like pure silliness. It's actually advanced training for the brain's prediction engine. When you and your baby move together to a beat, their brain starts doing something remarkable. It begins to anticipate what comes next. This rhythmic, socially shared play enhances predictive processing, the brain's ability to detect patterns and guess the next moment before it arrives. And here's the beautiful part. That same skill, detecting auditory patterns in music, generalizes directly to speech perception. The brain that learns to feel the beat of a song is building the same machinery it will use to catch the rhythm of language, to hear where one word ends and the next begins. So, when you bounce your baby and sing slightly off-key, you're not embarrassing yourself. You're teaching them to predict the world. Habit 6 gets them off their back and onto their belly. Tummy time. Supervised awake on the tummy for at least 30 minutes a day, spread across the day in whatever small doses they'll tolerate. And yes, a lot of babies protest at first. Push through it gently, because this one matters more than it looks. Beyond preventing flat spots on the head and motor delays, tummy time kicks off what researchers call a developmental cascade. Stay with me, because this is one of the most elegant ideas in all of child development. The baby pushes up, builds neck and arm strength. That strength lets them lift their head, then roll, then reach, then crawl. And every one of those new movements opens up a wider slice of the world to explore. And that exploration drives synaptogenesis, the explosive forming of new connections in the motor cortex. So the strength leads to movement, the movement leads to exploration, and the exploration builds the brain. It all starts on the floor, on the belly, with a baby who's a little annoyed about it. Let them be annoyed. It's worth it. Now, habit 7 is the one I promised that's about doing almost nothing, and parents are genuinely shocked by how powerful it is. It's the nap. Specifically, the strategic post-learning nap. Here's the science, and it's stunning. For infants roughly 6 to 24 months old, a nap of at least 30 minutes within about 4 hours of learning something new is critical for actually keeping that new skill. While the baby sleeps, the brain does 2 jobs at once. It performs synaptic downscaling, quietly pruning away the weak, unimportant connections, and at the same time, it transfers the important memories into the neocortex for long-term storage. In other words, the learning doesn't fully happen while they're awake and practicing. It gets locked in while they sleep. The nap isn't a break from development. The nap is when the day's lesson gets saved to the hard drive. So that new wave, that new sound, That new little trick they figured out this morning. Protect the nap that follows it, because that's the moment it becomes permanent. Habit 8 is one you may have already made a decision about, and the research here is direct. It's about feeding, specifically exclusive and extended breastfeeding where it's possible. Breast milk carries specialized lipids and fatty acids that are essential raw materials for building myelin, that insulation around the brain's wiring we keep coming back to. And the numbers are striking. Research has found that children exclusively breastfed for the first 3 months show roughly a 20 to 30% increase in myelinated white matter volume by age 2, compared to formula-fed peers. That's a real, measurable difference in brain structure. Now, an important word of compassion here, because this topic carries so much guilt. Breastfeeding is not possible for every parent or every body, and a fed, loved, responded-to baby thrives through 100 other doors on this very list. This is one powerful lever among many, not a verdict on anyone. Where it's available to you, it's a profound one. Where it isn't, the other 9 habits are waiting, and they are enormous. Habit 9 might be the quiet thread running through all of these, and it has 2 halves. It's called sensitive, autonomy supportive care. The first half is sensitivity. Reading your baby's cues and responding with warmth and positive feeling, tuning into what they need before it boils over. The second half is autonomy support, and this one's subtle. It means letting them explore, letting them reach for the toy themselves, struggle with it a little, figure it out, instead of doing everything for them. When you blend those two, warmth plus freedom to explore, you accelerate cortical development and you predict superior executive function later on. The mental control system behind focus, patience, and self-discipline. And there's a protective gift hidden in here too. That sensitive, responsive care actually shields the limbic structures of the brain, the emotional core, from the neurotoxic effects of chronic stress. So when you comfort a distressed baby instead of leaving them to cry it out endlessly, you're not spoiling them. You're standing guard over the most vulnerable parts of their developing brain. Be the safe base they launch from, and then let them launch. And that brings us to habit 10, which is less about something you add and more about something you protect them from. It's the deliberate, complete absence of screens. For children under roughly 18 to 24 months, the recommendation from the research is strikingly clear. As close to 0 screen time as you can manage. And the reason isn't moral panic, it's mechanical. Every minute a baby spends staring at a glowing rectangle is a minute displaced from the real-world face-to-face interaction their brain is desperate for. The serve and return, the touch, the rhythm, everything we've talked about. And it goes deeper than displacement. High screen exposure in these earliest years is linked to disrupted white matter integrity in the very brain tracts that support language, literacy, and executive function. The screen doesn't just take time away from brain building, it can interfere with the wiring directly. The world on the other side of that screen is dazzling, but your baby's brain isn't built by watching the world. It's built by touching it, by hearing your voice answer theirs, by being held. Nothing on a screen can return their serve. So let's step back and take a breath. Because if you're feeling the weight of all 10 of these, I want to give you something. Look at what these habits actually are. Talking to your baby, reading with them, holding them, touching them gently, singing and bouncing, a little time on the floor, protecting their sleep, feeding them, responding with warmth, and keeping the screens away. Not one of these requires money. Not one requires a degree, a gadget, or a perfect parent. They require presence. That's the whole secret. The thing that builds a human brain isn't a product. It's another human paying attention. And here's the part I most want you to hear. You do not have to do all 10 perfectly every single day. The developing brain isn't built by flawless performance. It's built by warm, repeated, ordinary moments stacked up over thousands of days. You will miss some. You will be tired, touched out, and human. That's allowed. The babble you answer tomorrow still counts. The nap you protect next week still counts. There is no closed door here, only the next small chance to return the serve. Because in the end, That's what all the neuroscience is quietly pointing at. A baby's brain isn't built by experts in a lab. It's built in your living room, on the floor, in the rocking chair, at 3 a.m., by a person who shows up and pays attention. You already have everything you need. It's your voice, your hands, your heartbeat, and your attention. That's the whole curriculum. So tell me in the comments, which of these 10 surprised you the most? And which one are you going to start tomorrow? If you're a parent or about to become one, say hi down there, because there are more of us in this together than you think. And if this gave you even a little relief from the pressure, a little clarity instead of fear, do me a favor and share it with someone who's up late worrying whether they're doing enough. They are. They just need to hear it. Take care of yourself and take care of that little brain. You've got this. Before you go, please consider like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next journey into baby psychology.